What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at some new level 6 Digimon. Now, these are coming in the starter decks, and you know that because they've got starter deck numbering on them. We are getting a second trio of starter decks. Well, in fact, in about 3 weeks over in Japan, which is rather exciting. I believe it's 3 weeks tomorrow. I could be wrong about that. And we've already seen a trio of level 6s, which are going to be coming in these starter decks. We've already actually seen the headline trio, as it were. But do remember that the first trio of starter decks we got had 2 level 6s in each. These have 2 level 6s in as well. Also worth noting that the level 6s in the first lot of starter decks were 2 each. So if you like these level 6s, you're probably going to need to buy 2 of each of the starter decks. Also worth noting, we have now actually had confirmation that our starter decks are going to be the same as Japan's. We get a booster in ours and they're slightly more expensive, but in terms of deck lists, they are the same. So expect us to get these starter decks exactly the same as Japan does, with a booster in. And expect us to need to have to buy 2 of each. Not confirmed, but good as confirmed. And what is really cool is that all of the Digimon we are talking about today are the second print of Digimon, which actually will be making it out in our first Booster 1.0. And I've shown a bit more of an affinity towards black decks up till now, so let's have a chat about Machinedramon. Now, Machinedramon here comes in as a 10 cost to play normally, 3 cost to evolve, 11,000 power Digimon, which makes it pretty cheap. I mean, if we compare it to the other level 6, the Blitzgreymon we're getting, it is 2 less to play normally and 1 less to evolve, which is pretty gosh darned good. Although it does have a little bit less power. But we would expect this, like the second level 6, if you want to call it that. In the original starter decks, we could look at something like Pleasiumon, still some of my favourite artwork we've seen in the Digimon TCG so far. They were all vanilla. 10 cost to play normally, 2 cost to evolve, 12,000 power, they were all the same. This is slightly more expensive to evolve, slightly less powerful than that. Although same 10 to play normally, but we have a skill there as well. What does a skill do? Now, shout out to the lovely Ensan Gaming channel. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Please let me know. But they have gone and dropped translations in the Facebook group. And what Machinedramon does is when you evolve, choose 2 of your Digimon to get Reboot until the end of your opponent's next turn. And I adore this. This is wonderful. Remember, Reboot is that skill that allows you to unsuspend your Digimon during your opponent's unsuspend phase rather than just your own. And I have spoken over and over again about how awesome the Wargreymon is, and we have had confirmation that that will be coming in the first booster, which is pretty awesome, because it's got both blocker and reboot. And the theory here is incredibly simple. You block on your opponent's turn and then make yourself active on yours, and then you attack on your turn and make yourself active on your opponent's, and round we go. It is frankly, ladies and gentlemen, a thing of absolute beauty. Well, this lets you give 2 of your Digimon reboot, and there's a bunch of different ways you can go with this. Clearly, I am a rather large fan of giving one of your blockers reboot, and remember that black decks have more blockers than other types, which is kind of cool. Or you can give anything reboot. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you might just want more blockers. Remember, you're going to be made active on your turn. You're going to unsuspend. I much prefer make active. You're going to unsuspend on your turn anyway, so you're going to have them ready to go, quite frankly. What you're not going to have is a blocker available to block if you just attacked on your turn. You can either attack on your turn or you can block on your opponents. Not if they've got reboot, ladies and gentlemen. Or it could just be as simple as, remember that outside of a few rare exceptions, your opponent can only attack resting Digimon. So it might be as simple as wanting to attack with your Digimon, but then not having them suspended on your opponent's turn, ready to attack, or be attacked, having them active or unsuspended on your opponent's turn, so your opponent cannot attack them. It is a one-shot deal, which I'm not loving, quite frankly. But then again, if you put it all together, it starts to look kind of nice. Because either you play it as a 10 cost normally and it's a vanilla, but it's a 10 cost to play normally 11,000 power for a vanilla level 6, that ain't bad. Or you evolve it up, and you end up with 2 of your Digimon having reboot. And at this stage, it's worth reminding us that we do have the Greymon coming in Booster 1.0 that's got the inheritable skill that while this Digimon has reboot, it also gains jamming. That is to say, will not be destroyed by security Digimon. So this is actually really nice in that you could use this to give your opponent reboot, so that it has jamming, so that it will survive against security Digimon, and then it just really has the bonus of unsuspending during your opponent's unsuspend phase. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds rather spiffingly lovely to me. I suppose we should probably just quickly compare this to the other Machinedramon, given that they are coming in Booster 1.0. The other Machinedramon is more expensive to play normally and more expensive to evolve, although not more powerful. But it does have blocker, which is a fairly big advantage, allows you to essentially redirect an attack towards it. And when you play, not Digivolve, play as a 12 cost, you de-Digivolve 2 on 2 of your opponent's Digimon. That is, you trash the top evolution source. So you take a level 6 down to a level 4, a level 5 down to a level 3, things of that nature. Though you can only get them down to either a level 3 or a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, you cannot delete a Digimon doing this, nor can you take them down to a level 2, because level 2s just don't exist in the battle area. I know some people are fans of Machinedramon. I personally am not a huge fan of it, because I don't think I'm playing it as a 12 cost, which means I'd much rather have War Greymon, which is cheaper to evolve and has blocker and reboot. So if you're asking me to pick a Machinedramon, I actually like this one better than I like the other one. But there's 2 other level 6s we need to talk about, so how about Venom Myotismon? And this one looks really cool. Now, we've got the same stats of 10 to play normally, free to evolve 11,000 power. Remember, these are the equivalents of the vanilla level 6s we got in the first starter decks, so we should expect them all to look kind of similar to each other. And again, we've got an evolution skill here, and again, it targets 2 of your Digimon. But instead of giving them reboot, it gives them vengeance. Although we actually know it's not called vengeance now. Now we've actually had some English scans. We do know the proper term for it. It's retaliation. We saw it on Devamon. And I'll be honest with you, vengeance and companion, I prefer both of them to retaliation. Boo! But basically it means when this Digimon is deleted after losing a battle, delete the Digimon it is battling. I.e., if you attack them and you go down, they go down with you. If they attack you and you go down, they go down with you. It's a really good skill. And you get to give this to 2 of your Digimon until the end of your opponent's turn. And this is huge, because it means it works on your turn when you're attacking, and it works on your opponent's turn when you are being attacked. And that is absolutely wonderful. And the way it is worded in the official English scans, it does say, when this Digimon is deleted after losing a battle, delete the Digimon it was battling. It doesn't differentiate between you having to attack or be attacked. And this is brilliant. You can give vengeance or retaliation to 2 of your Digimon, and then, weak little Digimon, and just throw them at bigger Digimon and be like, ha! Now you go down too. Or if you are worried about your particular Digimon being taken down, you can give them retaliation and say to your opponent, look, I've given them retaliation. You can come after them, you can take them out, that's fine. Please do bear in mind you're going down too. And then your opponent gets put in a super awkward position. Do they go after those Digimon that they blatantly want to get? Or do they wait because they don't want to lose their own Digimon? But if they wait, then they're giving you an extra turn with your Digimon, and that's why Vengeance is such a good skill. It's not like we've never seen anything like this before. We do actually have an option card that came around in Union Impact that will give 1 of your Digimon Vengeance. It is Dark Despair. It's a 2-cost option card that gives 1 of your Digimon Vengeance until the end of your opponent's next turn. That is to say, it is exactly the same as this, or I suppose to be precise, it is half of this, as a 2-cost option card. And clearly you could make an argument for just playing this instead, and it would be one of those things that's quite hard to argue with. But then again, this gives it to 2 of your Digimon, and then leaves a big bad level 6 on the field. This does not strike me as the worst thing ever. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, this strikes me as quite alright for me. It's a really, really nice skill. Certainly if you're playing a format where you're just playing theme decks against each other, I love this, because it's going to give you a big advantage. Is it going to be huge in competitions? Is it going to be great in tournament play? I'm not entirely sure, but I really, really like this. As a nice, cheap level 6 with a really good evolution skill, I am kind of loving this. Now, in terms of Venomyotismon, we are getting one of those in Booster 1.0 as well. It is a 12 cost to play normally, 4 cost to evolve, 12,000 power, which is to say more expensive, but more powerful, which we would expect. It gets security attack +1, and on your opponent's turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you gain a memory. But that is not limited to once during your turn, which means every time one of your opponent's Digimon either attacks or gets suspended due to a skill, you gain a memory. And honestly, I really like both these Venomyotismon, though if you did ask me to pick between them, I would pick the one from Booster 1.0, because I can recreate the Vengeance with an option card, whereas gaining all this memory, it's really hard to replace in some other way. But make no mistake about it, I think both of them are pretty gosh darn spiffing. Yeah, that's right, I'm using that word, and I'm cool with it. Though it is worth noting there is actually another Venomyotismon that came out in a promo pack over in Japan, which is, it was a set of 8 promos, and shout out to the lovely folks over at DigimonCard.dev for working up and making us have access to the translated, and this is a fan translation, this one, so thank you to those lovely dudes. And they are at the moment the only 8 promos Japan have had that we don't have any information about how we're actually getting them. Now that was an 11 cost to play normally, 3 cost to evolve, 11,000 power. So actually when it comes down to it, it's slightly more expensive to play normally, otherwise it's the same. And when it's destroyed, you may play 1 level 4 or less purple Digimon from your trash without paying its cost. And you do not activate when played effects. And we see this kind of thing on a bunch of purple Digimon. It's kind of cool, but I'd rather have one of the other ones if it's all the same to you. And the final one we need to have a chat about today is Rosemon, which is, of course, the other level 6 in the green starter deck. And Rosemon here, now skill-wise, we're exactly the same. We would expect to be exactly the same. This is very much in line with our expectations because, like I say, they are essentially the equivalents in each deck. And what we've got here is a skill whereby when you evolve, choose one of your opponent's Digimon. That Digimon cannot attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. And as much as I like this, I do not like this as much as I like the other two. I saw these cards today. I'm bringing you kind of my first impressions video, sitting down, looking at cards, analysing them, telling you how good I think they are and how they can be used. And I'm happy to tell you right now, I'd say happy, I'm kind of a little bit sad, but I feel confident telling you that as far as I'm concerned, Rosemon is the weakest of these. I don't like it as much. And don't get me wrong, it's not because it's not a powerful skill. It's because 2 extra blocks, rather than 1 Digimon not blocking, or 2 potentially extra KOs rather than 1 Digimon not attacking, I don't like this skill as much as I like the other 2. Now, clearly there is absolutely a use for Rosemon, because what you do is you stop a Digimon attacking or blocking, and this is a game-winning attack. Your opponent needs to attack 3 times next turn. They've got 3 Digimon out. You stop one of them attacking. They can only attack twice. They don't win the game. That gives you 1 more turn to win the game. And that's kind of redonk. Similarly, you might need to attack 3 times and you've got 3 attackers, but your opponent has a blocker. So you take out that blocker, make sure they can't block, and oh look, now you go ahead and win the game. This is absolutely a game-winning ability. The problem is you've got to have a level 5 green out and not evolve it and then have Rosemon in your hand on the right turn so that you can actually evolve into Rosemon and go and win the game. And I'm not saying you won't be able to, but I'm saying when I look at this and I look at its kind of peak usefulness, it seems like a very narrow card. Whereas with Machinedramon and Venomyotismon, I can look at them and go, you know what, I feel like every game I'm going to be getting a lot of value out of these cards. I look at Rosemon and I go, every so often I'm going to get huge value, and it's going to be the best among them. Most of the time I'm going to get some value and it's going to be the worst among them. It's not a bad card, it's a very, very nice ability, but I don't know, well, no, I do know to be fair, I just do not like it as much as I like the others, and I'm sorry. If we quickly compare it to the other Rosemon, the one that's coming in Booster 1.0, that is 2 more to play normally, but same evolution cost and same power. And that's got a skill whereby on your opponent's turn, when an opponent's Digimon attacks a player, that is player or security, remember, if Rosemon is suspended, you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So if you make sure you always attack and you're always suspended, they attack the player or your security, and then you get to suspend one of their Digimon. And it's not limited to once during your turn. I am a bigger fan of this Rosemon than I am the one from the starter deck. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, 3 new level 6s to have a chat about. I'm happy we had a chat about them. These look kind of cool. I am hyped for the starter decks. I have already pre-ordered them off Amazon Japan because you get an exclusive box when you do. And I'm a little bit excited. But I'd like to know how you feel. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.